The alarm bells rang through Station Alpha 9 like angry metal birds. Commander Vel's forearms moved quickly across the control panels, his insect-like eyes scanning the data that flowed across dozens of screens. Something was coming toward their space, and it was big. "What do we have?" Vel asked, his voice clicking through the universal translator. Crix, the crystal being at the sensor station, made a sound like breaking glass. "Unknown vessel, Commander. It appeared on our scanners 20 minutes ago. The energy readings are strange." Nala, the blue-skinned amphibian researcher, swam closer in her water-filled mobility suit. "How strange?" she asked, her gills fluttering. With worry, Vel looked at the main screen where a rough shape appeared. The ship looked old and ugly compared to their sleek vessels. It had thick metal plates bolted together, with what looked like ancient fusion drives pushing it forward. But that wasn't what worried him. "Show me the power readings," Vel ordered. The screen changed and everyone in the room went quiet. Numbers and graphs filled the display, all showing the same impossible thing. The ugly metal ship was producing more energy than a battle cruiser. Much more. "This can't be right," Nala whispered, her large eyes growing wider. "Check the sensors again." Crix's crystal body flashed different colors as he worked. "I've checked 3 times, Commander. The readings are correct. That ship is generating enough power to destroy a moon." Vel felt his stomach drop. In his 40 years of service, he had never seen anything like this. The ship looked peaceful enough. It wasn't firing weapons or making threats, but the energy signature was terrifying. "Can we identify the species?" he asked. "Working on it," Nala replied, her webbed fingers dancing over her console. "I'm picking up their communications. The language is unknown, but I'm running it through the translation matrix now." Minutes passed like hours. The unknown ship kept moving toward the inner systems, unaware that it had been detected. Vel watched the energy readings climb higher, as their sensors got a better look at the vessel. "Got something," Nala announced. "The translation is rough, but they call themselves humans from a planet called Earth. The ship is designated UES Endeavor." "What are they saying?" Vel asked. Nala listened to her headphones for a moment. "It sounds like normal ship communications. They're talking about course corrections, system checks, and something called coffee break schedules. Very boring stuff for a doomsday weapon." Crix's crystals turned a worried shade of orange. "Commander, I'm detecting multiple energy sources throughout their ship. It's not just one big weapon, the entire vessel seems to be one massive destructive device." Vel stared at the display in horror. The humans had turned their entire ship into a weapon. Every room, every corridor was showing dangerous energy levels. What kind of species would do such a thing? "Are they heading for any populated systems?" he asked. "Their current course will take them past 3 mining colonies and directly toward the trade routes near Proxima Station," Nala reported. 40 million beings live in that sector. The weight of responsibility crushed down on Vel's shoulders. He had been trained for this moment. The discovery of a hostile alien species with planet-killing technology. The protocols were clear, but he had hoped he would never need to use them. "Crix, send an emergency signal to High Command." "Priority Alpha Red," Vel ordered. "Tell them we have a Class X threat approaching populated space." "Class X?" Nala gasped. "Commander, are you sure? That classification is for extinction-level weapons." Vel pointed at the screen where the energy readings pulsed like a dangerous heartbeat. "Look at those numbers, Nala. This ship could crack a planet in half. What else would you call it?" As Crix sent the emergency message, Vel continued studying the human vessel. The more he looked, the more confused he became. The ship's design was primitive in many ways. No energy shields, no quantum armor, no gravity manipulation drives. But somehow, they had managed to pack enough destructive power into that metal shell to threaten entire star systems. "Commander," Nala said softly, "I'm still listening to their communications. They don't sound like conquerors. One of them just complained about the food dispenser being broken. Another one is talking about missing his family back home." "It might be a trick," Vel replied, but doubt crept into his voice. Species advanced enough to build planet killers might also be smart enough to use psychological warfare. The communications console beeped with an incoming message. Crix's crystals flashed blue as he received it. Response from High Command, Commander. They want all available data transmitted immediately. Admiral Rex is mobilizing the Third Fleet. Vel nodded grimly. The Third Fleet was the military's rapid response force, designed to handle the worst possible threats. If they were coming, it meant High Command took the situation very seriously. Continue monitoring the human ship, Vel ordered. I want to know everything, their speed, their course, and especially any changes in those energy levels. Over the next hour, the team watched and waited. The human ship continued on its path, completely unaware that it had been classified as the most dangerous weapon in galactic history. Their communications remained casual and boring. Talk of duty shifts, meal schedules, and something called movie night. It doesn't make sense, Nala muttered, studying the translation logs. They're acting like a normal exploration crew, but they're carrying enough firepower to sterilize planets. Crix's crystals pulsed thoughtfully. Perhaps they don't realize how dangerous their own technology is. Some species develop weapons without understanding their full potential. Vel considered this possibility. It was almost worse than facing deliberate conquerors. An ignorant species with planet-killing weapons was unpredictable and possibly even more dangerous. How long until they reach the populated systems? He asked. At their current speed, 18 hours, Nala calculated. The Third Fleet should intercept them in 12 hours if they maintain maximum speed. Vel looked at the screen one more time. The ugly metal ship continued its journey through space, its crew probably excited about humanity's first contact with alien life. They had no idea that 300 warships were racing to stop them before they could accidentally destroy half the galaxy. Keep monitoring, Vel said finally, and pray that Admiral Rex knows what he's doing, because if those humans are as dangerous as our sensors say they are, we might be looking at the beginning of the end. The alarm bells had stopped ringing, but the tension in Station Alpha 9 remained thick as fog. Everyone knew that the next few hours would determine the fate of millions of innocent beings. And somewhere in space, Captain Mason of the UES Endeavour was probably wondering what alien coffee might taste like. The great meeting hall of Nexus Prime had never seen such panic. The massive space station, home to the Galactic Council, buzzed with activity as representatives from 12 major species rushed to their emergency session. The hall's crystal dome showed the stars outside, but today those stars felt less welcoming. Admiral Rex of the Scale Republic stood at the central podium, his reptilian features hard as stone. His red eyes scanned the assembled delegates, taking note of who had arrived and who was still coming. This was the fastest emergency session in Council history. Thank you all for coming so quickly, Rex began, his deep voice carrying easily through the hall. What I'm about to show you will change everything we thought we knew about galactic security. Dr. Moss of the Root Collective swayed gently in her soil-filled container, her leaf-like appendages rustling with concern. Admiral, your message spoke of an extinction-level threat. Surely that's an exaggeration. I wish it were, Rex replied grimly. He activated the main display, and the image of the UES Endeavour appeared above them all. The assembled delegates studied the crude-looking vessel with confusion. Captain Flo of the Deep Current floated in his water sphere, his tentacles moving in patterns of disbelief. This primitive ship is the threat? It looks like it was built in a scrapyard. That's what we thought too, Rex said. Until we saw this. The display changed to show the energy readings from Station Alpha 9. Gasps and shocked sounds filled the hall as the numbers appeared. Even species that rarely showed emotion looked stunned. Elder Bright of the Lightwalkers, beings of pure energy, flickered with alarm. These readings, they're impossible. No ship that size could contain such power. The data has been verified by 3 separate monitoring stations, Rex continued. This vessel, belonging to a previously unknown species, called humans, is generating enough energy to destroy entire star systems. Counselor Stone of the Mountain Builders, a creature made of living rock, spoke in his slow, careful way. Perhaps their instruments are different from ours. Maybe what we see as weapons are actually something else. Rex shook his massive head. We considered that possibility. But look at this. The display showed a detailed scan of the ship's interior. Energy sources are scattered throughout the entire vessel. Every room, every corridor shows dangerous power levels. They've turned their whole ship into one giant weapon. The hall erupted in worried discussions. Species that had been enemies for centuries suddenly found themselves agreeing on one thing. This was terrifying. Dr. Moss raised a branch-like arm for attention. Have we tried communicating with them? Perhaps they don't realize how dangerous they appear. Station Alpha 9 has been monitoring their communications, Rex replied. The humans seem to be on a peaceful exploration mission, but that could be a cover story. General Wing of the Sky Dancers, a graceful bird-like being, spread her feathers in distress. Or it could be that they're so advanced they don't even consider us worth lying to. They might see us as insects. The thought sent a chill through the assembled representatives. A species so powerful that they didn't bother with deception was perhaps the most frightening possibility of all. Ambassador Tide of the Storm Riders slammed a fin against his water tank. How far are they from populated space? Current projections put them at Proxima Station in 16 hours, Rex answered. 40 million beings live in that sector, not counting the mining colonies they'll pass along the way. The number hit the eye. Assembly, like a physical blow. 40 million lives hung in the balance, and they had less than a day to decide what to do about it. Counselor Knight of the Shadow Clan emerged from a dark corner where few had noticed him. What do we know about human military capabilities? Do they have a fleet following the ship? Unknown, Rex admitted. This appears to be their first vessel to leave their home system, but if this is just their exploration ship, imagine what their warships must be like. The thought made several delegates visibly shudder. If humans built exploration vessels as weapons of mass destruction, their actual military must be beyond comprehension. Dr. Moss tried again, for calm discussion. Surely we should attempt peaceful contact first, declare our presence, explain the situation. Many conflicts start from simple misunderstandings. With respect, Doctor, Rex replied, this isn't a simple misunderstanding. Their ship could crack planets. Even if they're peaceful now, what happens when they're not? What happens when they realize how much more advanced they are than the rest of us? Elder Bright pulsed with worried light. The Admiral has a point. A species with this kind of power would quickly dominate the galaxy if they chose to. We might be looking at our future masters, Captain Flo's tentacles twisted with anxiety, or our executioners. Species this advanced might not see any value in keeping primitive races alive. The debate continued for hours, but the conclusion seemed inevitable. Every time someone suggested peaceful contact, another delegate pointed to the terrifying energy, readings. Every time someone proposed waiting and watching, others reminded them of the 40 million lives at stake. Finally, Rex called for quiet. We need to make a decision. I propose we classify this human vessel as a Class X extinction event weapon and authorize immediate military containment. The hall fell silent. Class X was the highest threat level in galactic law, reserved for dangers that could end entire civilizations. It had never been used before. Dr. Moss made one last attempt at reason. The classification seems extreme for a single ship, regardless of its power. Is it? Rex challenged. Look at those readings again. This one ship has enough firepower to sterilize dozens of worlds. If that doesn't qualify as an extinction event weapon, what does? The vote was called. One by one, the species representatives gave their decision. Even Dr. Moss, despite her reservations, voted for the classification. The math was simply too frightening to ignore. Motion carried, Rex announced. The human vessel is hereby classified as a Class X extinction event weapon. I am authorized to use all necessary force to contain the threat. As the assembly broke up, delegates hurried to contact their home worlds with the news. The galaxy's first contact with humanity would be a military one, and everyone hoped it wouldn't be their last contact with anyone. Rex remained at the podium, staring at the image of the human ship. Somewhere aboard that vessel, Beings who might be peaceful explorers or potential destroyers continued their journey toward populated space. In a few hours, he would find out which they really were. The stakes couldn't be higher, and there would be no second chances. Captain Mason was enjoying his morning coffee when the ship's alarm started screaming. He nearly spilled the hot liquid on his uniform as he rushed to the bridge of the UES Endeavour. Around him, his crew moved with practiced efficiency, taking their positions at various stations. "Report," Mason called out as he settled into his command chair. Lieutenant Baker, a young woman with short red hair, looked up from her sensor station with wide eyes. "Sir, we've got company, lots of company." The main screen flickered to life, showing space around their ship. Mason's coffee cup slipped from his fingers as he saw what surrounded them. Dozens of alien vessels had appeared from nowhere, their sleek designs unlike anything humanity had ever imagined. Some looked like living creatures, others resembled geometric crystals, and a few seemed to be made of pure light. "How many?" Mason asked, his voice steady despite his racing heart. 43 ships, Captain," Baker replied. "All of them have weapons pointed at us." Chief Engineer Torres, a stocky man with graying hair, whistled low. "Well, this isn't how I imagined first contact would go." Mason stood up, straightening his uniform. Humanity's first meeting with alien life, and they were outnumbered 43-1 with weapons trained on them. Still, he had been chosen to lead this mission because he could stay calm under pressure. "Open communications," he ordered. "Let's see what they want." The main screen changed to show the bridge of the largest alien vessel. A massive reptilian creature sat in what looked like a command chair, its red eyes fixed on Mason with obvious suspicion. When it spoke, the universal translator turned its words into rough English. "Human vessel, this is Fleet Admiral Claw of the Scale Republic. You are surrounded and outgunned. Surrender immediately or face destruction." Mason blinked in surprise. The alien's tone was harsh, but something about the situation felt wrong. These beings had superior technology and overwhelming numbers. If they wanted to destroy the Endeavour, they could have done it already. "Greetings, Admiral Claw," Mason replied calmly. "I'm Captain Mason of the United Earthship Endeavour. We come in peace and mean no harm to anyone. Perhaps we can discuss the situation like civilized beings." On the alien bridge, Mason could see other creatures moving around nervously. They seemed scared? But why would an advanced alien fleet be afraid of one human exploration ship? "You will power down all weapons and prepare to be boarded," Admiral Claw demanded. Mason looked confused. "Admiral, we don't have any weapons. This is a scientific exploration vessel." The statement caused visible shock among the aliens. Several of them started talking rapidly in their own languages, creating a buzz of activity that the translator couldn't follow. "Impossible," Admiral Claw finally said. "Our sensors detect massive weapon signatures throughout your ship." "I think there's been a misunderstanding," Mason replied patiently. "Would you like to come aboard and see for yourself? I can offer you some coffee while we sort this out." The word coffee seemed to cause even more panic among the aliens. Mason heard one of them shout something that the translator rendered as, "He's activating the quantum weapon." Before Mason could explain that coffee was just a beverage, Admiral Claw cut the communication. On the Endeavour's bridge, the crew looked at each other in confusion. "That went well," Torres muttered sarcastically. 20 minutes later, a small shuttle approached the Endeavour. Mason met the alien delegation in the ship's main cargo bay, which they had hastily converted into a meeting room. The group that emerged from the shuttle was unlike anything from Earth's imagination. Admiral Claw led the way, his massive reptilian form moving with surprising grace. Behind him came a tall, thin creature that looked like it was made of living crystal, its body refracting light in beautiful patterns. The third alien resembled a cross between an octopus and a jellyfish, floating in some kind of water-filled suit. "Welcome aboard the Endeavour," Mason said with a smile, extending his hand in greeting. The aliens froze. The crystal being's lights flickered rapidly, and Admiral Claw took a step backward. "He's reaching for a weapon," the floating alien said in a voice like gurgling water. "It's just a handshake," Mason explained gently, lowering his hand. A human greeting. We mean no harm. The delegation looked around the cargo bay nervously. Mason followed their gaze, trying to see what had them so worried. It looked like a normal ship interior to him. Metal walls, equipment lockers, and a small table where someone had left their tablet computer running a video game. The crystal alien pointed at the tablet with what might have been terror. What is that reality distortion device? Mason walked over and picked up the tablet, causing all three aliens to take several steps back. This? It's just a tablet computer. Someone was playing a game. He showed them the screen, where colorful shapes were moving around. See? It's called Tetris. The floating alien made a sound like a whale in distress. He's casually handling a dimensional manipulation weapon. It's not a weapon, Mason protested. It's entertainment. Look, let me show you around the ship. Maybe that will clear up this confusion. Admiral Claw looked like he wanted to refuse, but curiosity seemed to win over fear. Very well. But any sudden movements, and my ships will open fire. Mason nodded and led them toward the ship's main corridor. As they walked, he pointed out various features of the Endeavor. That's the mess hall where we eat, those are crew quarters where people sleep, and that's the recreation room. Through the recreation room's window, they could see Petty Officer Johnson watching something on the wall screen while eating popcorn. The alien's instruments started beeping frantically. What is that massive energy discharge? The crystal being asked, in what sounded like panic. Mason looked through the window. Oh, that's just Johnson watching a movie. It's called Star Wars. Pretty good space adventure film, actually. The statement seemed to make the aliens even more nervous. Mason was starting to realize that everything on his ship was somehow being misinterpreted as threatening. Perhaps, he said carefully, you could explain what your sensors are detecting? Maybe we can figure out where the confusion is coming from. Admiral Claw looked at his handheld scanner, then at Mason, then back at the scanner. Your entire ship is radiating enough energy to crack a moon in half. Every room contains what our technology identifies as weapons of mass destruction. Mason stared at the alien in genuine bewilderment. That's impossible. We're just explorers. But, even as he said it, he began to wonder what human technology might look like to aliens who had never seen it before. Chief Engineer Torres wiped her hands on a rag and smiled at the alien delegation. Welcome to the engine room, folks. This is where all the magic happens. The three aliens, Admiral Claw, the crystal being called Shine, and the floating creature named Bubble, stood frozen at the entrance. Their scanning devices were making sounds like dying electronic animals. The energy readings are off the charts, Shine whispered, his crystal body flickering between different colors of alarm. This entire room is a doomsday weapon. Torres looked around her engine room with pride. It was her domain, filled with humming machinery, blinking lights, and the steady pulse of the fusion reactors. She's a beauty, isn't she? Took me 3 years to get her running this smooth. Admiral Claw pointed a clawed finger at the main reactor housing. What is that massive destruction device? That's our coffee maker, Torres replied cheerfully. Industrial size. Keeps the whole crew happy during long shifts. The aliens exchanged looks of pure terror. Bubble's tentacles writhed inside his water suit. They have weaponized their stimulants. This species is beyond our understanding. Torres walked over to the coffee machine and pressed a few buttons. The machine hummed to life, grinding beans and heating water. The aliens' scanners went completely crazy, beeping and flashing like a disco. Would you like some? Torres offered, pouring herself a cup of the steaming black liquid. It's a little strong, but it keeps you awake. She's preparing to demonstrate the weapon, Admiral Claw said in a strangled voice. Everyone stand back. Torres took a long sip of coffee and sighed with satisfaction. That hits the spot. You sure you don't want to try some? First rule of space travel. Never turn down good coffee. The simple act of drinking coffee seemed to terrify the aliens even more. Shine's crystal body turned a pale, frightened white. She consumed the quantum fuel directly, he whispered. What kind of beings are these humans? Before Torres could explain that coffee was just a beverage, the intercom crackled to life. "Torres, could you come to the mess hall? The microwave is acting up again." "On my way," Torres replied into the intercom. She looked at the aliens with an apologetic smile. "Duty calls. Want to see more of the ship?" The delegation followed her nervously through the corridors. As they walked, Torres chatted about the ship's systems, completely unaware that every word was making the aliens more frightened. "The artificial gravity gives us some trouble sometimes," she explained. "And don't get me started on the ventilation system. But the worst is when Johnson overclocks his gaming rig. Sometimes it interferes with navigation." "Gaming rig?" Bubble asked weakly. "Yeah, the kid's built himself quite a setup. Runs about 6 computers at once, all linked together. Pretty impressive for jury-rigged equipment." The aliens nearly fainted. 6 linked computers sounded like a military-grade battle computer to them. They reached the mess hall to find Dr. Kim standing in front of a small metal box, frowning at it. She looked up when they entered. "Oh, hey, Torres. This thing is making weird noises again." Torres walked over to the microwave and opened its door. "Probably just needs cleaning. These things can be temperamental." She placed a leftover slice of pizza inside and closed the door. When she pressed the start button, the microwave began to hum and rotate the food inside. The alien scanning equipment exploded into activity. Lights flashed, alarms beeped, and Shine actually fell backward in shock. "Controlled matter-antimatter reaction," he gasped. "They're manipulating the basic forces of the universe to heat food." Dr. Kim looked confused. "It's just a microwave. Pretty standard technology back on Earth. Every home has one." "Every home?" Admiral Claw repeated in horror. "Your entire population has access to molecular manipulation weapons?" "Well, I wouldn't call them weapons," Dr. Kim said thoughtfully. "More like convenience appliances, though I suppose you could hurt someone if you put your hand inside while it's running." The casual mention of potential harm made Bubble make a sound like a drowning fish. The microwave beeped to indicate the pizza was ready. Dr. Kim opened the door and carefully removed the hot food with a paper towel. "Want some?" she offered the aliens. "It's yesterday's dinner, but it's still pretty good." The aliens backed away as if she was holding a live grenade. "She's offering to share the quantum-treated matter," Shine whispered to his companions. "This is either a gesture of supreme trust or a test of our worthiness." Dr. Kim shrugged and took a bite of the pizza. "Your loss." "Hey, Torres, while you're here, could you look at my computer? It's been running slow all morning." They moved to Dr. Kim's workstation, where multiple monitors displayed complex scientific data. The computer tower underneath had been modified with extra fans and cooling systems. "I've been running climate simulations for the next 3 planets we're supposed to visit," Dr. Kim explained. "The calculations are pretty intensive, so I upgraded the processor last month." Torres knelt down and opened the computer case. Inside, circuits glowed with LED lights, and cooling fans spun quietly. "Looks like you need more RAM. This processor is working harder than it should." Admiral Claw stared at the glowing circuits in absolute terror. "They've built a quantum prediction machine. They can see the future." "Not exactly the future," Dr. Kim corrected. "Just weather patterns and atmospheric conditions. Pretty basic. Stuff for planetary exploration." "Basic?" Bubbles squeaked. "You casually predict the behavior of entire atmospheric systems and call it basic?" Before anyone could answer, a loud sound came from the recreation room next door. It sounded like explosions and laser fire. The aliens immediately assumed combat positions, but Torres just laughed. "That's probably Johnson playing his space combat game. Kid's been trying to beat level 12 for weeks." They looked through the doorway to see Petty Officer Johnson surrounded by multiple computer screens, his hands moving rapidly over keyboard and controllers. The screens showed spaceships fighting in what looked like incredibly realistic battle scenarios. Johnson noticed them watching and paused his game. "Hey everyone. Just trying to take out this alien mothership. These new graphics cards make it look so real. It's like actually being in space combat." The alien delegation stared at the multiple screens, the powerful computers, and the realistic battle simulations. "Military training system," Admiral Claw whispered. They're practicing fleet combat against enemies that look remarkably like us. Johnson grinned and unpaused his game. Watch this maneuver. I've been working on it all week. On screen, human spaceships performed complex battle tactics against alien vessels. The graphics were so detailed that individual weapon systems could be seen firing. The three alien visitors watched in growing horror as they realized that from their perspective, they were looking at humans casually practicing the destruction of alien fleets, and the scariest part was how normal it all seemed to the human crew. The breakthrough came in the most unexpected place, the medical bay. Bubble, the floating alien, had started making distressed sounds halfway through the ship tour. His water suit was fogging up and his tentacles were moving in what looked like panic. "Is he okay?" Dr. Park asked with genuine concern. She was the ship's medical officer, a kind woman with gentle hands and a warm smile. Admiral Claw looked worried too. Bubble suffers from anxiety attacks when stressed. This situation has been overwhelming for him. "Well, let's get him checked out," Dr. Park said immediately. "Medical bay is just down the hall." She led them to a clean white room filled with equipment that hummed softly. The aliens' scanners immediately went crazy again, but Dr. Park ignored the noise and focused on her patient. "Let's see what we can do for you," she said gently to Bubble. "Can you tell me what you're feeling?" "Terror," Bubble admitted through his translator. "Pure, overwhelming terror. Your species is beyond anything we imagined possible." Dr. Park looked puzzled, but didn't argue. Instead, she guided Bubble to the examination table. "Well, let's start with some basic scans to make sure you're physically okay." She activated the medical scanner, and the machine began its work. To human eyes, it was just a standard MRI machine doing what it was designed to do. But to the aliens, it looked like something entirely different. "Molecular-level scanning," Shine whispered in awe. "She can see through solid matter and examine individual organs without invasive procedures." Admiral Claw stared at the display screen where Bubble's internal structure was clearly visible. "The precision is incredible. They can probably manipulate biological systems at the cellular level." Dr. Park studied the scans with professional interest. "His stress hormones are definitely elevated. Heart rate is high too." She turned to Bubble with a reassuring smile. "You're having a classic panic attack, nothing dangerous but probably not very comfortable." She moved to a cabinet and pulled out a small device. "This should help you relax. It's just a mild sedative, nothing harmful." When she activated the device, it made a soft humming sound. The aliens' equipment detected what their technology interpreted as precise molecular manipulation. "She's performing cellular-level medical intervention," Admiral Claw breathed, without even opening him up. Dr. Park simply placed the device against Bubble's water suit, where it delivered a mild, calming agent through the water. Within minutes, Bubble's panicked movement slowed and his color returned to normal. "How do you feel now?" Dr. Park asked kindly. "Much better," Bubble admitted. "Thank you, but I still don't understand what's happening here." Dr. Park sat down beside the examination table. "What exactly don't you understand?" Admiral Claw spoke up. "Your technology is beyond anything we've ever encountered. Your ship radiates enough power to destroy planets. Every room contains weapons that could end civilizations. Yet you act as if it's all perfectly normal." Dr. Park looked genuinely confused. "Weapons? What weapons? This is a medical bay." "That scanning device," Shine pointed at the MRI machine. "It can see through any material and map biological systems in perfect detail. In the wrong hands, it could be used to target weaknesses in any species." "And that molecular manipulator," Admiral Claw added, indicating the medical device Dr. Park had used. "It can alter living tissue at the cellular level." Dr. Park stared at them for a long moment, then started laughing, not mockingly, but with genuine amusement and relief. "You think our medical equipment is weapons?" she asked between giggles. "An MRI machine and an ultrasonic therapy device?" "What are those?" Bubble asked nervously. Dr. Park stood up and patted the MRI machine affectionately. "This old thing uses magnetic fields to create pictures of what's inside your body. Every hospital, On Earth has dozens of them, and this," she held up the therapy device, "uses sound waves to reduce inflammation and promote healing. My grandmother has one for her arthritis." The aliens looked at each other in growing confusion. "But the energy readings," Admiral Claw protested weakly. "Oh, that," Dr. Park said with understanding. "You must be detecting our power systems. Yeah, human technology tends to be a bit robust. We like things that work reliably, even if they use more power than they probably need to." She led them back through the ship, but this time with a different perspective. In the mess hall, she explained how the microwave worked. In the engine room, she showed them that the coffee maker was just an oversized version of something every human owned. "So when you said every home has molecular manipulation weapons," Admiral Claw said slowly, "you meant every home has cooking appliances." "Exactly," Dr. Park confirmed. "We use microwaves to heat food, that's all." Shine's crystal body flickered with what might have been embarrassment. "And the quantum prediction machine?" "Weather forecasting software," Dr. Park explained patiently. "Pretty standard for any exploration mission." "The military training system?" Bubble asked weakly. "Video games," Dr. Park laughed. "Entertainment. Johnson likes to pretend he's a space pilot shooting aliens." She paused, realizing how that sounded. Fictional aliens, not real ones, definitely not real ones." Captain Mason joined them in the corridor, having heard about the medical emergency. "How's our guest doing, Doctor?" "Much better now that we've cleared up a few misunderstandings," Dr. Park replied. "It turns out our new friends thought we were some kind of super-advanced warrior species." Mason looked genuinely surprised. "Us? We're just explorers. This is only our first trip outside our solar system." Admiral Claw sat down heavily in a nearby chair. "You mean to tell me that all of this technology, all of these energy readings, all of this casual manipulation of matter and energy, is normal for your species?" "Well, yeah," Mason said. "I mean, we like to build things that work well. Sometimes that means they use more power than they probably need to, but reliability is important when you're traveling between stars." The three aliens looked at each other, then back at the humans. "So you're not planning to conquer the galaxy?" Shine asked hopefully. "Conquer?" Mason looked shocked. "Why would we want to do that? We just want to explore, meet new people, maybe do some trading. Speaking of which, would you like to try some of that coffee everyone keeps talking about?" An hour later, the three alien visitors sat in the mess hall, carefully sipping coffee and trying to understand how they had misread the situation so badly. "This is actually quite good," Bubble admitted, his tentacles wrapping around the warm cup. Admiral Claw looked at his handheld scanner, which still showed massive energy readings from the coffee maker. "Our sensors will need serious recalibration, Captain." Mason smiled as he watched the first successful diplomatic contact between humans and aliens. "You know, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship." Outside the ship, the alien fleet waited nervously for word from their delegation. They had no idea that the galaxy's most feared weapon of mass destruction was actually just humanity's tendency to over-engineer their appliances. And somewhere in space, other species would soon learn that sometimes the most dangerous thing about humans wasn't their weapons, it was their coffee makers.